He is Cabral Richards.
Trifecta.
He knows I'm cheap as hell. Welcome back to the
show, Sid, I heard you've been making up for lost time, though, in your less mature days. Let's say your 20s, you were a little, your alligator arms were fully formed, but in your 30s, then they formed into human arms, and then you were able to reach into that pocket and slap down a few rounds for the boys, pick up a few meals, and leave some greater tips. Not like Chad Ochocinco dropping like a G on a meal, but I've heard you've made up for lost time. So congratulations.
Well, listen, I'm glad we've all grown. I'm glad those stories. I'm glad those stories have made their way down to Nevada, where you are. But I'll tell you, to confirm with Cab, if you gave me like an orange vest for a Christmas gift at a TV station, I'd wear it for like a month and a half straight. Like I wouldn't.
Wait, did I do that? I'm pretty sure I wore mine.
I think I did it. I only did it until you stopped, and then I'm like, well, it's not cool anymore. If Cab's not doing.
For those who don't know, the orange vest was given to us by the Score, and I wore mine till the down filling fell out of it. So, listen,
I wore mine for a while too.
I was reading a Plato quote: "Never discourage anyone who continually makes progress, no matter how slow." Cab. So that's what we're saying to Sid Sixero on this day, despite wearing the $5 Old Navy golf shirt right now.
The enlightened Sid Sixero. Yeah, I dig it. This is a new year, 2020.
Would you believe me if I told you my wife bought it for me? Would you believe me?
Oh, yeah. Actually, am I allowed to say her name? Have you said
no,
her name?
No. Let's keep it under wraps. Let's keep it under wraps. Let's keep it under wraps.
Well, from what I remember, your wife is very fashionable and stylish. Now, and hopefully she treats herself to luxury handbags and days at the spa and all those sorts of things. And hopefully she looks at actually based on what you wear, I don't know if she does buy you clothes, now that I think about it.
Not all my clothes, no. Most, let's just say the Rogers Sportsnet wardrobe room has been good to this guy. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. Like Cabbie, I think
she bought this culture. Sorry.
No, well, you're right. My wife, she has a Louis Vuitton toothbrush. Everything's good. She's very happy with it. Very stylish. She doesn't. For the record, she doesn't. Sorry, Timmy, go ahead. Let's get down to it. It's good to hear your voice, Cab. It's good to hear.
We were reminiscing over a title that came one year ago tomorrow. What do you remember of the what jumps out to you? What will you forever remember about the Raptors winning the title?
Oh man, there's so many memories. I guess I'd probably go to the parade because I was fortunate enough to be on one of the buses. I was on bus number 4. DK and I were on bus number 4, and then on our bus was Pascal Siakam. It was OG Anunoby and Patrick McCaw. OG and Patrick sort of hit on the first level of the bus. They were double-decker buses, and they just weren't really in as festive moods as were Pascal and his brothers Christian, and I can't remember his other brother's name. Pascal was having the time of his life. It was like Marc Gasol was living his absolute best life, and I think Pascal Siakam was like number 2 there because he was faded. Understandably so. I mean, these guys are champions, and we didn't leave the BioSteel Performance Center. It took an hour to get from there to the gates of the CNE, and we were supposed to make it to Nathan Phillips Square, the 5-kilometer course, in 2.5 hours. The whole thing was supposed to be done by 12:30. Starts at 10. Man, I don't even think we got to university until 12 or 12:30. And then it took another 3 hours to go from Lakeshore, basically the Lakeshore, to Nathan Phillips Square. It was incredible, and it was hot, and there were millions of people. And Normie, I snuck out to bus number 2 to interview Norm Powell, and he opened a whole bottle of champagne and poured it over my head. And champagne burns when it gets in your eyes. Yeah. That is legit. And I was like, Normie, how could you? I was just so surprised that he did that to me. I mean, he was having a great time. And then later when, I shouldn't tell this story, but anyway, I got him back.
Go ahead. Oh, you got him back. That's all you can tell us. You got him back. That's fine. We don't need details. We all can
later,
text
yada,
later.
yada, yada.
Yeah.
I got him back.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know how much I can. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
All right.
Yada.
That's for the
Yada. That.
Well, I mean,
Mm-mm.
I have to ask him
You're
if I
fine.
can tell the story.
Yeah,
Fine.
no, that's fine. No, I understand.
Don't burn bridges on our behalf. Yeah,
No,
we're
don't
good.
do that. Don't do that. By the way, Cab, one thing I was told in confidence, I heard the car to be into was Jamal McGlure's car, who was feeling no pain during that parade whatsoever. Big Cat had a really good parade.
No, I did.
Big
no,
Cat's
I
car was good.
him.
Big Cat's car was good, I
can
heard.
imagine.
Yes.
I can imagine. And I'm sure they celebrated that Caravana like absolute legends. I'm sure. Because he's got his own like band and like
Yeah, he's got his own float at
his own
Caravana.
float. I can't remember the name. I was trying to find the name of his crew.
Cal will find it in 3 seconds.
The Revelers or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure. Is it the Revelers?
I feel like that's it, but I'll find it for sure.
I'm sure they had a great time.
Yeah, it was a great time. The parade went till Thursday, but it was a great time had by all.
It was a Monday morning too. That's right.
No, it was.
Donovan and I flew back Sunday night, and the parade was on a Monday. So
Cab,
like,
I almost should.
8 o'clock in the morning.
I almost should frame like the TV lineup we had. I almost should get it framed because it's so ridiculous to what actually happened in reality. Because you're right, it was like 12:30. 12:30 they'll be at Nathan. 12:30 they'll be at Nathan Phillips Square. Meanwhile, it's like dusk, and Larry Tannenbaum's trying to give a speech. And anyway, whatever. It was a great time. 7 hours commercial-free television. We were live the whole time. We were live.
Oh, that's right.
Gina Pugliese.
Oh my gosh, that is so hard. Like you guys earned your entire year's salary on that day for those 6-7 hours of being live with very few commercials.
You know what, Cab? I hardly.
We sold the rights to a commercial-free broadcast.
No commercial.
So we could not take a commercial.
Oh my goodness! Wow. The degree of difficulty is like a 30 out of 10.
Honestly, Cab, whatever. I barely remember it. Hardly bring it up. You know? Hardly bring it up.
By the way, confirmed Toronto Revelers, and it's too bad that the carnival was canceled for 2020 because apparently they were going to go Coming to America for this year's.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That movie's coming out in 2021, and the remake, not the remake, but the sequel. Anyway,
was that a movie that was supposed to be a this summer movie, and they pushed it?
I don't know. Good question.
I just got a tweet. I just got a text from a guy who will remain nameless, but his name sounds like Leldon Alexander, who said. His mom is screaming at the TV, Jamal's band is the Toronto Revelers. The Toronto Revelers.
Thank you.
Toronto Revelers. Got it. I had one part of it.
Thank you.
Leldon Alexander.
Mount Pleasant and Eglinton's finest. Or Northern's finest.
Yes.
I remember this is I don't know why I'm going in this direction, but maybe it's the last 3 months of quarantine that's kind of put me in this direction. The three voices you hear in this conversation when we were about 21 years old, 22, 23 years old, were causing complete chaos in a newsroom in downtown Toronto. And we were acting like we knew what we were doing. None of us knew what we were doing. We tried to do the right thing, but we were young people trying to find our way in this business. And the three of us are sitting here on drive time radio in Toronto and coast to coast on national sports television. Just essentially doing anything we want. And I just want to congratulate the group for that. Congratulations to the group. Congratulations.
Yeah, and for a time, I was writing scripts for you guys. Like, you guys were the first ones to appear on camera on the highlight shows, and I was still writing scripts while doing Cabbie on the street. So, I mean, it's a testament to, at 21 years old, like on national TV, and like I would try to get you guys to break doing the most vile, inappropriate things off camera, which shall remain nameless. But you guys are true professionals, and maybe it's because of my torrid, unprofessional behavior that you guys have been able to remain so stoic in various situations and unflappable regardless of the obstacles in your way.
Cab, do you have any idea how tough it is to try and read a board from the Maui Invitational where Fred Couples has a 3-shot lead? And have Cabral Richards in the corner doing something I cannot repeat on any avenue that I have, either social media or otherwise. That was a learning experience. That was a learning experience.
Oh, there was, and I'll just say this: no, I shouldn't say it.
Don't say it. We had a good interview. We've had a good interview. Let's not end in controversial fashion.
I just remember Cab's go-to early was the guy with high pants. He would always do the guy with high pants. So you would be doing highlights, and then dancing like directly beside the camera with high pants would be Cabral Richards with a stupid-ass grin on his face.
Some version of the Carlton and potentially topless.
And Cab, after about 3 months of it, someone came up to me and said, he's doing an impression of you, right?
No, that was no. I was you didn't wear high pants.
Might have been Glenn McDonald. I'm not sure. Maybe he was just starting a fire. Oh, good time. How are you, man? Before we got to wrap this up, man. Are you good? How are you?
Yes. Yes, I'm doing pretty well in my bubble in Las Vegas. On a semi-serious note, it's interesting being a Canadian in America during this time because some of my experiences in Toronto were not the same of people that look like me here, but everything is magnified and amplified, and we're in like this amazing period of change, hopefully change, and it continues. But I'm kind of an outsider here, just with bright eyes and just taking it all in. So that's been what a weird 2020. You know what? Maybe 2020 is the best year because a lot of people say 2020 is the worst year, but maybe because maybe so much will change this year and so many things have been brought to the forefront. We're living in 2 pandemics, so from here on out, there will be organizations and task forces in place to handle future medical and disease and epidemiological pandemics. And then the other one, which is harder to conquer, maybe certain systems will start to fall, and then there will be actual more equality in the world because of what we're going through in 2020. And those are just on the 2 pandemic levels. Maybe there are unforeseen things that are coming, but will inspire the change to make life better for us, in 6 months or 6 years. But you might look back at 2020 and be like, man, that decade started off rough, but that year started off rough to start the decade, but that year was the spark for so much change. So maybe it'll be a great year in retrospect.
Yeah, maybe the challenge of 2020 is that it is a challenge to get better, a challenge. I read this, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm just going to close with this because I thought what you just said was encapsulated by something that I read from a woman named Leslie Dwight. And it goes like this. What if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all. As you were saying that.
Profound. That is profound and much more eloquent than I tried to say over the last 60 seconds. That's beautiful.
Well, listening to both of you, if we can, sorry, Timmy, go ahead. Finish your thought because your thought was going to be way more important than mine.
I was just going to say it was written down. That's all it was. It was only written down. That's the only difference.
If we can start 2020 with Cab finally admitting I'm not cheap, I think the world is full of possibilities. The world is full of possibilities, Cab.
It really is. It really is. Anyone can change.
Anyone can, yes, it's a speech from Rocky IV. If I could change and you could change, we can all change.
Great to smile with you. Thank you for doing this.
Likewise. Thank you so much, fellas. Enjoy your weekends and be safe.